T-minus 9 minutes and 47 seconds. The L-minus 15 pole complete.
Show 064744 is the new liftoff time.
Affirm.
Okay.
You can see
So what you're looking at there
1:47:44, 1:47
media.
a.m. Eastern time and 44 seconds.
You see all the people scrambling out there to get to their spaces now for to see this.
So yeah, so I was down there in August
into
for the first
count.
2 launch attempts, and it's pandemonium. It's like Hunger Games out there for your spot. So once you get your spot, you put stuff there, whether it's a tripod or a chair or whatever. And so everybo's kind of getting all their cameras powered up because you have to conserve battery, right? So you're trying to kind of play this game.
Yeah, I assume a lot of the photographers were doing that. They had to go back and recharge because they probably were out there for so long getting ready, you know.
Yeah. Everybody sits and waits in their cars because there's only the international media is supposed to be in the media center because obviously they're from out of town.
Yeah.
And
I didn't hear
they have to be bussed.
Did you hear what the crowds are like down there? The public crowds. I wonder if it's
not nearly as much. So they were doing some video of the Indian River viewing area, which is bleachers there out at Kennedy Space Center, and you could see open spots. I was stunned. I have somebody who tweeted me from Cleveland that said, "I'm in Orlando, thinking about driving east to 50 miles, you know, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, dude, if you do not go, you will regret it. And he's like, you know, there's a lot of people waiting here. I'm like, traffic's not going to be a beautiful thing going back, but at least you're going to get to see this thing and you'll feel it. I mean, 8 minutes. So let me just put this into context for people. When I was down there the first time, a SpaceX rocket launched with 2 satellites in it. And it was 12 miles from the hotel that I was in. It went up, I saw it, it was amazing, and about a minute later I heard it and then I felt it. That was a little bit freaky.
Wow.
That SpaceX rocket was 1.1 million pounds of thrust. This is 8.8.
Yeah, that's gonna.
So
a lot of people are gonna wake
12 miles
up
away.
Yeah. Boy, that sonic boom's gonna be pretty impressive too.
Yeah, and you know, they had a sonic boom earlier over the weekend with nobody knows exactly where it came from. May have been a Space Force test plane coming back.
That was the little craft that was up there for 938 days, and it's a secret mission. Nobody really knows.
Yes, nobody knows, but it magically came back down and fired off a huge sonic boom that shook Orlando.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. Okay, let's see what Daryl's saying here.
Ignition and thunderous sound, it could damage the rocket. So the ignition overpressure and sound suppression system will flood the mobile launcher with water. You'll see that sequence start at
400,000 gallons
17
in 20 seconds. It's incredible.
Now coming up in
so you can hear
Daryl's
voice getting a little more excited.
We'll start bringing the high energy systems online, starting with core stage pressurization.
You see a lot of venting going on here because they're going to keep pumping in fuel, so it's going to be spraying. All the excess is going to be venting off here.
Yeah, it's boiling because it's so cold that liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen sits in there and just boils. And they're constantly in that replenish mode, so they have to keep that perfect balance right at 100%. Yes, this is good.
The core stage tank is now pressurizing to flight levels.
That's good. That's a great sign.
They were able to do this before
the liquid hydrogen tank now closing
for Ian.
The liquid oxygen tank will come a little later. Now we're arming the Orion Ascent pyros and transfer to internal power.
All right, that's big. It's internal power now.
The launch abort system, or LAS jettison motor, is now armed. On this flight, the abort motor is inactive because there is no crew on board. Up next is the flight termination system, or FTS, which gives the Space Force the ability to destruct the rocket if it goes in the wrong direction. Let's listen in for that.
GLS is go for FTS arm.
The flight termination system is now armed. Coming up at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, a big moment. This is where the RS-25 engines and their bleed go to high flow. It's been a little tricky to dial in.
GLS is go for LH2 high flow bleed check.
Good word, we've passed that. The cryo team got the LH2 engine bleed pressure loop dialed in. They are now at the right temperature for launch. Countdown continues.
All right.
T-minus
All
4
right.
minutes, 15 seconds.
This is good.
Up next, GLS fires up the KHOUs. Those are high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25s. Stands for Core Stage Auxiliary Power Unit Start.
GLS is go for core stage APU start.
That now leads to the thrust vector control test at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That can proceed now, and we will see the engines gimbal at the bottom of the core stage.
Yeah. It's really cool. They all four move independently or together.
At T-minus 3 minutes and 10 seconds, you will hear the go for purge sequence 4. That's a helium purge of the 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve, getting the air and moisture out.
All in all, this is not going to be that big of a delay if they go off here before 10 till.
GLS
I
is
mean,
go for purge sequence 4.
It's
And in just a few
1:47 and
seconds,
44
GLS will
seconds.
close the core
That's,
stage locks
they're
vent,
going.
liquid
Yep.
oxygen.
Unless something
The white
last
vapor
second
cloud
here.
goes from the super cold
Yeah, this-
Again,
gaseous
as soon
oxygen
as those
that's in the
solid
water,
rocket
and the
boosters
atmosphere
fire,
will
that's
disappear.
it.
Yep.
He's
You
gone.
see it coming out there now.
we're getting to that point of no return where they're going to be launching regardless, like you
And
said.
there it goes. It's
So here's
closed.
that helium
Locks vent
coming out.
closed.
Yep.
Pressure rising in the core stage locks tank.
See the gimbling
flight
of the
level.
Oh
engines?
yeah, look at that.
Coming up in 15
Wow.
seconds, look for that thrust vector control actuator test. Engines will gimbal.
I cannot fathom the energy in the firing room right now.
And
Yeah.
there they go. The 4 core stage RS-25 engines gimbaling around, testing the
Oh, that's
ability
so cool.
to steer the rocket into space.
Yeah, people think those are just static
They will
engines.
operate
They
at
move. They can
190
actually steer this thing.
performance.
So it's
Each
amazing.
RS-25 throwing down 500,000 pounds of thrust. All 4, 2 million pounds. All together with the boosters, 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
GLS is go for upper
It's
stage
just-
to
I
internal
can't even
power.
fathom.
Now the upper stage has
2
gone to
minutes.
internal power.
Wow.
So power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery power. The same milestone is coming up for the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So all of the arms that are holding the rocket right now will retract once
Yep.
those solid rocket boosters fire. That everything will be off of it, and it's moving. So
GLS is
it's a
go
real
for core
tedious
stage to internal power.
time.
The rocket's core stage, which houses the 3 flight computers, is now on battery power. So there is no more hold
Wow.
time available because there's no more margin on the batteries. So if we have a hold, we'd have to recycle back to
We're done.
T-minus 10 minutes and recharge those batteries.
Oh.
The count continues. A note now, shortly after liftoff,
1 minute.
1 minute.
Shortly after liftoff,
Oh my
Mission
God.
Control Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague, Leah Cheshire, will take over commentary. T-minus 50 seconds and counting. Coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, the GLS will hand off control to the ALS. This is the autonomous launch sequencer. On board the rocket, it will take over command and control of the rocket. But the ALS will check, make sure there's no holds coming from the ground up until T-minus 2
GLS
seconds.
is go for ALS.
And we are go for ALS. The Space Launch System is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon. Launch team can no
20.
longer recycle the count. Sound suppressor water now flowing
15.
under the ML. And here we go.
Again,
10.
these are hydrogen
burn off
sparks
igniters
to burn off.
initiated. 7,
400,000 gallons
5,
of water.
core stage
Oh my
engine
God,
start.
guys.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
guys, it's going.
Oh, look at all that.
5 engines on the core stage and 2 solid
Wow.
rocket boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour.
That's amazing.
Carrying good control.
Looks
on the
so
roll
much
from
like a
Team
shuttle
Mission Control
launch
Houston.
because of
All
those
good
solid
calls so
rocket
far. Now
boosters.
30 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. First milestone will be for the vehicle
Same
to pass
engines,
the max
too.
Q
I mean,
at
just
about 1 minute and
so
9 seconds
reminiscent
into
when you
launch.
look at that.
This is the greatest period of
Now those
outside
solid
force
rocket
on the rocket.
boosters are burning 6 tons of propellant per second.
SLS now traveling 607 miles per hour. You're looking at 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust. Quiet here in the loops in mission control. The 4 core stage engines are throttling down ahead of passing through max Q.
Wow.
Max Q is the highest forcing on the vehicle itself.
Now 1 minute, 21 seconds into the
Look at
flight,
that.
traveling at 1,420 miles per hour. The 4 core stage engines are back at maximum thrust.
Just spectacular.
The next major milestone will be for the solid rocket boosters to cut off and jettison at about 2 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, so about 30 seconds from now. Again, quiet here in Mission Control Houston as teams continue monitoring the flight of Artemis 1. We're now 16 miles downrange from the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center, traveling over 2,800 miles per hour.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Standing by for solid rocket booster jettison and shortly thereafter.
Oh my.
Spectacular. Oh my goodness.
Confirmation that the solid rocket boosters have separated these 177-foot
Perfect.
boosters. Now the core stage continues to power the flight of Orion, all 4 RS-25 engines firing, traveling over 3,400 miles per hour, 46 miles downrange.
Wow.
2 minutes and 36 seconds into the flight. Hearing nominal calls here in Mission Control Houston. We've still got 4 good engines on the core stage. Next up, we'll be looking for the service module fairing to separate. This is 3 15 by 15 foot fairing panels, providing structural support, protecting the service module. Those will separate at about 3 minutes and 11 seconds into flight, and very shortly thereafter will be followed by the launch abort system separation.
The launch abort system is
Just over 3 minutes into the
very
flight of
Yeah, that
Artemis
little
1,
narrow
traveling
cone at the
over
top.
4,060
yeah.
miles per hour, 83 miles downrange. We just had confirmation that the service module fairing has separated.
Wow. There, look at the camera. Wow.
Yeah.
And that the launch abort system pyros have fired, separating those from Orion as well. For future crew members, we just heard the call for 3 engine press, meaning if SLS were to lose an engine at this point in the mission, we could still achieve a nominal mission. We would just have an extended main engine cutoff time. However, we still have 4 good engines, all at maximum thrust right now, powering the first flight of Artemis at 5,200 miles per hour, 148 miles downrange.
Absolutely incredible.
Well, for everybody who was doubting that it was going to happen, there you go.